Welcome to Countdown to World Youth Day, EWTN Radio's exclusive World Youth Day coverage, live from Rio, with Elena Rodriguez and Tom Price.
And welcome back to our live coverage here of World Youth Day 2013. Tom Price at our EWTN headquarters in Alabama, along with the girl from Ipanema, Elena Rodriguez, live in Rio. How are you?
I'm doing very well. This is the girl from Ipanema, and I am just delighted to be with you, joining you live from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where Ipanema is a suburb that's just a few blocks away from where we are located.
Wow.
At the Media Center on the beach of Copacabana, where we are broadcasting live everything that has to do with World Youth Day and everything that is related with World Youth Day, but beyond blessed, being here on such a historic occasion, Pope Francis's first visit after being elected Pope to his first international trip, his first visit back to his home continent of South America, and his first World Youth Day today on his first public appearance, first Mass at the Shrine of Our Lady of Aparecida in Brazil, which we have just brought to you live from Aparecida, the Basilica in Brazil.
I must say the crowds were huge, both at the Mass last night and the Mass this morning, Elena.
And that is correct. We still don't have an official count for the crowd at the Mass on Copacabana Beach last night, which was not presided by the Holy Father. It was presided by the Metropolitan Archbishop of Rio, Monsignor Archbishop Orani João Tempesta.
Very good.
And
very good.
I'm trying these Portuguese names now. And so we're still waiting on an official number for the crowd last night. Now, as for today, we still have to await, of course, the official numbers. But I will tell you this, that this is the largest Marian shrine in the world in terms of the size, and it can hold up to 45,000 people inside.
Wow.
Which is amazing. Now, for the feast day, which is October 12th, sometimes they manage to get in 70,000. Now, I presume that also includes the crowds that are gathered at the front of the property, in the lawns and the parking lots, which, of course, we saw a lot of people today gathering in the front, outside of the church.
Mm-hmm.
They had screens. There was a little altar, as we were able to see. A magnificent place. And Pope Francis's first official visit, he wanted it to be a Marian shrine. And so he came to visit Our Lady of Aparecida. Now, of course, the shrine is not within Rio. It is about 160 miles due west of Rio, in the town of Aparecida. And right now the Holy Father has finished the Mass, and he is still indoors in a little alley that goes out of the shrine, but he is within the Pope Mobile, beginning to make his exit.
Well, very good. This is our live coverage here of Countdown to World Youth Day 2013. We say that it's a countdown, really, even though World Youth Day has begun and is now halfway through, we're actually sort of in countdown mode to the final event, which, of course, will be the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass on Sunday. And as you have said, Elena, that is really the biggest of all the events.
It is the biggest of all the events, and all the other events lead up to the closing ceremony, the closing Mass, and that will be held, as you very well said, Sunday morning. And it will be at the Field of Faith, which is the park of Guaratiba that has been called the Field of Faith for the purpose of World Youth Day. And it is some 17 kilometers away from downtown Rio, which is, let me do the math here, maybe roughly like 10, 11 miles away. And so the young people are going to be walking from Rio to Guaratiba, the Field of Faith, Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon, walking all this distance. Some pilgrims are planning to walk the whole way. Others are going to go in buses and taxi and whatever kind of other means of transportation to a certain point and then start walking.
Yeah.
But the main purpose of that is to walk because walking allows you to think and to have moments of reflection. You go as a group, and it's part of the pilgrimage. It's part of the meaning of pilgrimage.
Well,
so that everything will lead up to the closing Mass on Sunday morning.
And if you recall the movie The Quiet Man, Maureen O'Hara would have said that's a good stretch of the legs. So you can just see them
Exactly.
processing there in their own way.
Exactly.
Now, I know that you've got an in-studio guest. Are you ready to bring him on?
I am ready to bring on my guest. I am delighted to be joined by Father Max Medina. He is originally from Belize, the country of Belize in Central America, but he is also a priest with the Missionaries of the Poor. Father Max, welcome to our broadcast here live from Rio.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you listeners on EWTN. It's indeed a pleasure to be here and to be given this wonderful opportunity to share with you my own experience. First of all, I would like to really thank EWTN for their tremendous support over the years. Since we got to know them, it has never stopped, and in fact, it's always increasing. The support and the help, the friendship that has been established over these years.
And of course, the Missionaries of the Poor and EWTN have a lot in common. We're going to talk about the common grounds that we have in a moment, but I would also like to bring on my other guest in studio, Edward Clancy, who is representing here in Rio at the World Youth Day the organization, wonderful organization, Aid to the Church in Need. Edward, welcome to our special broadcast live from Rio.
Well, thank you very much. It's a wonderful opportunity to be here.
I am honored to have both of you here because we are all pilgrims. We have our jobs here. We have to work very hard, but at the same time, we're taking it all in.
Yes. The graces just keep pouring down like the rain today.
They are. And just to paint a mental picture for our radio listeners, we're gathered here in our broadcast booth. We have a flat screen in front of us, and we are watching those lovely images of the Holy Father inside his Pope-mobile, his open Jeep Pope-mobile, just rolling out of the shrine of Aparecida. And we're all glued to the TV screen. I can tell you both Father Max Medina and Edward Clancy have beaming smiles. And how can you not when you see the Holy Father blessing everybody and just having a blast, having a wonderful time, enjoying his time with the people. And even though it is raining, and people are running everywhere with umbrellas, and they're following the Holy Father's vehicle as he rolls along and trying to get those snapshots and just trying to say hi. And of course, we know that when you've been in a crowd like this, you almost think like the Holy Father is looking at you, only at you, and waving at you directly.
Yes.
Father Max, have you had a chance to see the Holy Father yet?
Well, first of all, when I was told that I was coming to Brazil, I wasn't really excited. But as time drew near, and especially when we were boarding the plane to leave for Miami and then Rio, I said, this is it. And of course, when we landed here on Sunday morning after 8 hours of travel, I felt within myself, this is really an exciting moment for everyone. And I said, what a power it is to see the thousands of young people traveling from all over the world to be here just to see the Vicar of Christ and to draw from his life something that can keep them going for not just now, but for the rest of their lives, an experience with this man. And so I know that when we went downtown Central Rio, where the AIS is also present, and they have been very supportive of Missionaries of the Poor.
IS is the same thing as
It's
Aid to the Church in Need, Edward?
It's the Portuguese acronym for Aid to the Church in Need.
Oh,
It's
very well.
AIS instead of ACN.
I
Right.
see.
So, and it was just on those streets around there that the Holy Father was going to pass with his Pope mobile, and I went with a friend who is actually here, and because of my stature, I mean, when I got to the crowds, I could hardly see. So there was actually an Argentinian fellow, a tall fellow, about 6'7". He said, "Well, you can actually climb on my shoulder,
Oh my
and
goodness.
you can take a good view of the Holy Father." And in fact, when the Pope mobile came by, I could feel my heart really beating fast. And I said, thank God that now I can see him in person. and I was just about 15 feet away from where he was passing by.
Wow.
So I just began to cheer up with the rest of the crowd. Long live the Pope, and we are so glad to see you. So it was really a thrilling experience for myself as well as for my friend who is here. I met a friend, a seminarian. I mean, actually, when I looked at him, he was in tears.
Aw.
And I'm sure he can tell you in Portuguese.
And
his own experience.
Michael from
Malcolm
from Brazil is here with us in the studio as well with
Right.
Father, and Edward's fiance,
yes.
Razel.
Razel.
Is also here. So
Yes.
we're a big group here,
Right.
and we're
So
very blessed to have enough chairs for
it
everyone.
has really been a blessed moment.
Oh,
I mean, this is
yes.
just the beginning, and we're looking forward for what is to come in the few days ahead of us.
For me, the image of Father being on the shoulders of a man is very wonderful, because how many times the missionaries of the poor lift up the downtrodden and the poor, and many times, I mean, almost literally on their shoulders.
Aw.
And now you have the image of him coming to see the Holy Father. They're both wearing white, and someone in the crowd lifts him up just so he can see. It's an actual wonderful image.
And that's a wonderful image, and we're going to go to a little break, and I'll toss it back to you, Tom, in our main EWTN radio studios back in Birmingham, Alabama, in the United States. Truly an international show, but when we come back, I want to ask you more about the origins of the missionaries of the poor, Father Max Medina, and also what similarities are there between the Holy Father and the spirituality of the missionaries of the poor.
Yes,
We'll also
indeed.
have a chance to talk to Edward Clancy about your work here. So a lots more ahead. So please stick around.
Looking forward to that. It's 13 minutes after the hour. You're listening to our exclusive coverage, Countdown to World Youth Day, here on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Don't go away. Lots more to come.
Young disciples from around the world are gathered with the Holy Father in Rio in a celebration of faith and love for Christ and His Church. It's World Youth Day 2013, and the EWTN crew is in the midst of all the excitement with complete coverage of this inspirational pilgrim journey. But your prayers and financial support are essential in helping to bring this once-in-a-lifetime experience to the world. Please be generous and give today. Donate online at EWTN.com or write to EWTN, 5817 Old Leeds Road, Irondale, Alabama, 35210.
Our family had been going through crisis. Little by little, we just found ourselves drifting completely away. I was afraid to go back. I mean, I cried the first time I received the sacraments again. Cried because I was back and because I had allowed God to become a part of me again. It's united our family. There's peace in our home that we didn't have before.
If you've been away from the Catholic Church for any reason, visit CatholicsComeHome.org today.
Let's return to EWTN Radio's exclusive World Youth Day coverage, live from Rio.
Welcome back. It's Countdown to World Youth Day 2013. Tom Price here along with Elena Rodriguez in Rio and her two guests today, Father Max and Edward. And Elena, it occurred to me that we've got a real family connection going with these two gentlemen, of course. First of all, with the Missionaries of the Poor, the connection with EWTN and Father Richard Holung goes way, way back, as does our connection with Aid to the Church in Need through the great radio program Where God Weeps, hosted by Mark Riedemann.
Yes.
That is correct. And with the Missionaries of the Poor, what we have in common is we have EWTN and the Missionaries of the Poor started the same year.
Wonderful. 1981.
That is correct.
In Kingston, Jamaica, by Father Richard Holung. And since then, God has really blessed us with so many vocations throughout the world, coming from Indonesia, from India, from the Philippines, from Haiti, from Uganda, from Kenya, Jamaica, Trinidad, Belize. And hopefully one day soon, through this program and many others, we will get some Brazilians, because that's our plan at the moment, just looking around, that in the future we can establish a mission right here in Rio or in Sao Paulo.
How wonderful.
Yes, so I'm looking around for the possibility of that. But indeed, we do have quite a good common connection with EWTN, as well as the life of the Holy Father. He being a Jesuit, our founder was also a Jesuit. He was trained, formed as a Jesuit, and worked with the Jesuit for many years. And it is there that he really received this spirituality of being so close to the poor. And his heart couldn't say no to what was going around. And that is where he decided to really leave the Jesuit community, not because they were not a good institute, but simply because he wanted to be closer and closer to the least of our brothers and sisters. And so in 1981 the Missionaries of the Poor came into being, and since then the work has really thrived and inspired the lives of so many people, not just brothers committed to the works, but as well as lay people. And through EWTN, we are reaping hundreds of volunteers who come around every week to our houses in Jamaica in great numbers, but as well as in Africa, in Haiti, who come down and spend a week, 2 weeks to work with the poor. And I am in charge of the volunteers. I run the guest house for the volunteers. And every group I ask, I said, how did you get to know Missionaries of the Poor?
Yes.
EWTN.
Oh, praise God. That is great.
EWTN. And this is no flattery. This is just a fact. It is through EWTN.
Great.
And so there is much that is happening. You through the media, you are evangelizing, communicating the word, and people are getting to know about the poor, the Church of the Poor, who through the brothers, we are there to serve, to see Christ in them and to experience that presence. And when the friends come, believe me, it's like a magnet.
Wow.
Because once they come, they keep coming back again. People have come, there are people who have come 20 times, 15 times, 3 times a year. And it's not because they have nothing to do, simply because they have been touched by the lives of the poor and through the joyful service that we offer to the least of our brothers and sisters.
We are speaking with Father Max Medina from the Missionaries of the Poor, here participating in World Youth Day, live from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And Father, when you were saying that people come and they become volunteers, and they heard from the mission, they heard about the Missionaries of the Poor through EWTN. I have to add myself to that group. I heard about the Missionaries of the Poor through EWTN, actually through Tom Price and his wonderful wife, Adrienne, who told me about the Missionaries of the Poor, and we were actually very, very blessed to be able to go with Adrienne last November, first week of November. So we were there for the retreat, the first 3 days in November, up on Mount Tabor in Kingston, Jamaica, and on the Blue Mountains with Father Richard Ho Lung, and of which I keep copious notes in my little journal book. And then the next 3 days we came down to downtown Kingston, where your headquarters are, and we worked with the brothers there, an incredible life-changing experience. And I know, Tom, you have been there as well.
I have indeed, and that is one of the highlights of my life, I think, was being able to help to feed the poor and just to bring them a cup of water or talk with them, to sit down and exchange stories and hear about their lives. And it's just a wonderful, marvelous apostolate. And I know that Father Ho Lung, a very humble man, I'm thinking there's going to be great things for him at some point in the future. I'll just leave it at that. You know what I mean?
Right. In fact, there are, when I left on Saturday, there are 60 friends from the States right now doing their retreat, which was finished on Sunday, given by Father Ho Lung. It's a great experience. We're just really blessed that at this time in age we can be for the poor, because God has blessed us with a wonderful holy Pope whose heart is really given over to the poor. And just as an example, when he arrived here and the transportation that he has been using to move around, it's just a simple
A simple
car-
vehicle.
vehicle.
Yes. Yes.
Which it has much to teach us about what direction the church should be going at this time. And I think here for Brazil is a lesson to learn that Christ will continue to thrive, continue to reign when we begin to see his face in those who are suffering.
And the Holy Father just, I believe it was last Sunday, who just launched this message out to the priest about you shouldn't be driving expensive cars. And naturally, the car is a very important work tool for a priest, for a seminarian to be able to get out there to reach the people, and a reliable car that is safe and protects everybody inside, of course. But he says you don't need to be, having a very fancy sports car or the latest model. Just use it as a reliable work tool. And so we see him come to Rio, and we were speaking about this a little bit earlier in our pre-show broadcast before the Mass at the Shrine of Aparecida. We believe it was a Fiat. Is that right, Tom?
I believe it was. It was a Fiat, correct?
We believe so, and it was, you cracked the joke there.
I'm not going to repeat my jokes. They're bad enough as it is first time.
But it is very fitting. It is very fitting. It's an Italian car. Fiat means, the International Factory of Automobiles in Turin. I believe that's what the call letters stand for. Italian car here in Rio. We saw him get on an airplane, an Embraer airplane, which is from the Brazilian Air Force, to get to the Shrine of Aparecida. So definitely we see the brands there, but the main thing is the Holy Father is saying, keep it simple. And there's another similarity between the Missionaries of the Poor and the Holy Father as well, and it's the color of the habit. Can you explain what the habit means for us, please, Father? Yes, Father Max Medina, live from Rio.
The habit for us, I remember when we were choosing the habit, it was in 1993, early 1993, when Pope John Paul II was about to visit Kingston, Jamaica in August. And we had a meeting, and then of course we brought in different colors, but Father said, I want white. White. Why is it white? Because white has to do with purity, the purity of heart. And where there is purity of heart, there is also that sense of joy. Because God is known as, we describe God and everything that has to be holy with white, isn't
and
it?
Purity, yes.
Black is death, but white, it is pure and holy. And so Father said we will go for white, and then the blue sash that we have around our waist is our devotion to Mary, consecrated to Mary. So that's why we wear white as missionaries of the poor, and we just have to make sure we keep it clean all the time.
Yes, keep it clean all the time. That is quite a challenge when you're working out in the centers and in very hot weather, very humid weather.
But also he wanted it to be simple, and that is why it's just one piece of cloth, as you can see for yourselves, unlike the habit of many other religions that has a lot of pieces of cloth, and he wants it simple, so we don't spend much time taking care of the habit. That's just how practical it is, how practical Father Holong is when it comes to these matters.
And around your neck you wear?
A cross. We have a cross with the face of Jesus, which a lot of pilgrims have been taking pictures of this at the booth where we stand.
Yes,
because
it's
they're
very
just
particular.
drawn by this.
Yes.
Which is just particular for us, the missionaries of the poor.
The suffering Christ.
The suffering Christ, and that's what we are to see in the faces of the least of our brothers and sisters that we take care for every day.
What is the motto of the Missionaries of the Poor?
It is joyful service with Christ on the cross. It's interesting because there was a lady yesterday who was asking me, what does that mean, the logo? Joyful service with Christ on the cross?
Yes.
And I said, well, if you are not happy taking care of the poor, then you can't bring hope to them. And so for every member of the Institute, the spirit of joy must be present. And for that to be present, the member has to be a man of prayer. M-O-P, a man of prayer.
Man of prayer, missionaries
Wow.
of the poor.
Beautiful.
It has to be that, because that's where you find the inner strength to bring about peace, to bring about hope, encouragement to those we are to serve every day. And it cannot be if we are not joyful. It has to be present. And so in joy we go through sufferings. We just bear it, because that's what Christ taught us on the cross. If we complain about suffering, then we are not able to find that joy that Jesus has to offer us on the cross.
And that is so very meaningful. And Father, one last question for you, Father Max Medina from Missionaries of the Poor. If there are some young people listening to this broadcast who would like to find out more about vocational information, or just people who are out there who might want to consider going down to Kingston or any of your houses, any of your home centers around the world to volunteer, what is your website and how can they contact the Missionaries of the Poor? I believe missionaryesofthepoor.org, will that work?
Yes, www.missionariesofthepoor.com.
.com.
Yes.
Okay.
Or they can write to email mopjr@yahoo.com. I'm in charge of the vocations, mopjr@yahoo.com. Or they can call us at 876-948-0286. 876 is the area code. 948-0286. Or they can just
and that is a number
write,
within the United
yes.
States. Okay. 876-948.
This is the Jamaican number.
Oh, the Jamaican number. So this is in Jamaica, 876-948-0286. Or visit the website Missionaries of www.missionariesofthepoor.com.
Yes. And I would just like to once again thank you all at EWTN, Elena, for being so kind to communicate this to us, and to have us here, myself and Edward and our friends, to share with you on this wonderful occasion of the Holy Father's visit here, which the first day, when a Sunday, and then on Monday I said, I think we should just begin to chant Francis Fever.
I know,
Justin
that's right.
Bieber.
Yes.
Francis Fever. So God bless you all for listening to us and communicating this message throughout the world.
Thank you so very much, Father Max Medina with the Missionaries of the Poor. And I'd like to bring on, just for a moment, a seminarian who is joining us in the room. And he does not speak English, but he is from Brazil. And what I'm going to do is I'm just, for a few moments, going to do my best translating Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese, but I do speak Spanish. So, bienvenido, benvindo, Malcolm.
Obrigado.
Where are you right now? You're a seminarian with the Missionaries of the Poor? Seminarista con los misioneros?
I'm a seminarista in São Paulo,
Seminarian
Brazil.
in São Paulo, Brazil.
Can speak in Portuguese.
How many years before you become ordained as a priest?
4 anos.
4 años, 4 years becoming ordained. And what are you expecting from World Youth Day? ¿Qué estás esperando de la Jornada Mundial de la Juventud?
Eu espero que a Jornada Mundial da Juventude suscite muitas vocações para o Brasil, né? E para todo mundo.
Malcolm is expecting that the World Youth Day may bring on many vocations for Brazil and for the rest of the world. We wish you all the best. Te deseamos lo mejor. Que Dios te bendiga y muchas gracias. Muito obrigada.
Muito obrigado.
Thank you very much. Very good. That's Malcolm, seminarian from Brazil.
All right.
Here, World Youth Day. And of course, it is an international and cultural feast. So we get to talk to people from all corners of the world. And I'd like to bring on Edward Clancy right now with Aid to the Church in Need to ask you about your work here. You're a pilgrim, but you are also working hard for Aid to the Church in Need. So explain to us many of our listeners are very familiar with the way the organization works, but explain to us, what is your mission in the world?
Well, Aid to the Church in Need is a pastoral relief agency whose goal it is to serve the church in places where there's persecution and suffering. And it's pretty interesting, as sort of a segue, we have Micah here, who's a seminarian, and the Pope is now visiting a seminary here in Brazil. And one of our main missions at Aid to the Church in Need is sort of supporting seminarians. In fact, 1 in 11 vocations in the world receive aid from Aid to the Church in Need. So Father Ho Lung and all of the wonderful priests who appear on EWTN and sort of inspire maybe a vocation in young men. World Youth Day, I've in fact met 3 priests during my travels that have said that they've entered the priesthood because of a call of vocation they received at World Youth Day. And so the great grace that is likely to happen from Pope Francis is even more, young men and women answering the call to the church to serve the church. And, for me, the journey started, many years ago, but this particular journey started on July 8th. I traveled to the Philippines to pick up my fiancée and, bring it back with me to come here to World Youth Day. And Rochelle and I have come, and she lost her luggage. She was without her clothes for 2 days.
Oh, no.
And so we had a very good pilgrim experience in the fact that...
Suffering.
Exactly. Simplicity.
Yes.
Just you exist on very little. And I speak to young people often about World Youth Day, and I tell them that if you go once, what will happen is you'll be sort of overwhelmed in the beginning. But that's nothing. It's going to keep building and building and building, and you find the more that your physical energy is drained, your spiritual energy is increased by tenfold, and at the end you're physically drained of everything you have. But God gives you these special graces of World Youth Day, and we see it when the young people come back to their parishes. And actually, in Denver, when World Youth Day was in Denver back in 1995, our founder spoke. And he
Were you
had
there in Denver?
No, I wasn't. But he had a great love for the young people, and he thought this is a wonderful thing. And so now Aid to the Church in Need is here, and we're presenting the face of the suffering church, and we've offered an opportunity for the missionaries of the poor to have a place to present themselves to the young people of Brazil, the people of Brazil, and also the international pilgrims.
And what a great team it is, definitely.
Yes. Well, we're a universal church serving all.
Very much. For you personally, what have you been able to learn so far from your time in Brazil in the very few days that you have been here?
So far, it's been sort of a microcosm of all that is good and all that is difficult within the church, and that you see disorganization and dysfunction, and somehow, regardless of all of the problems, you see holiness, and you see that there is a direction, that you see, you may get lost, but there's a kind person to steer you the right way, and there are people all along who are very, kind and supportive. And, I speak Spanish, I speak English, and for some reason Portuguese to me sounds like Russian. It's like,
wow.
I pick up 1 or 2 words, and so, I'm listening, and I don't know what they're saying, and they're speaking to me, and they're smiling, and I say, well, God bless you. It's a wonderful thing. So
a smile goes a long way. That is the international sign of friendship.
Yes,
definitely.
Yes.
What will you take back with you, other than your luggage? And hopefully it does arrive on time this time. Right, Roselle? She's smiling in the back of the room.
Actually, we just hope to bring back the many blessings of sort of rubbing shoulders with holy people, holy men and women, holy young people who are on fire for their faith. And, to help all of us when we do our work for the church to continue, because as you experienced a few minutes ago, it can be very difficult.
Yes.
When reality sets in and you're supposed to do something and the time doesn't work and everything isn't functioning. Yeah. It's those times we need to draw on those graces to say, okay, Lord, I can't do it. You're in charge.
Yes.
Just take over and guide me.
This is bigger than I am.
Yeah.
And certainly World Youth Day is bigger. We can't really say that we have seen any other gathering of international countries bigger than World Youth Day.
No.
And we're not even talking about the World Youth Day that broke the records back in Manila in 1995.
Yeah, 6+ million. Yeah.
And so that was the largest human gathering ever. It's gone down in the Guinness Book of World Records. But even if we look at the small ones, if we look at the first ones that were 800,000. When it was first beginning, before it built up, even that, what is there in the world, around the world, that compares to that?
Nothing. It's the genius of John Paul. I mean,
Yes.
he had this idea, and he writes this letter, and all of a sudden we see this. And today we were at Mass at our venue in Largo Carioca, and there were Chinese pilgrims from China, mainland China. And they're there with us, and the priest brought a relic of martyrs who were killed because they refused to trample the cross and give up their faith.
Goodness.
And so there it was on the altar beside the Blessed Sacrament, alongside a statue of Our Lady of Aparecida. And there are these young people from China, kneeling, singing a song at Mass, praying. And I was just struck by the fact that we had these Brazilian nuns singing, we had the young people, we had the Mass being said in English and in Portuguese and in a Chinese song. And all of this was happening in a tent in Rio de Janeiro on one of the coldest days that they can remember.
Yes.
Everything not normal,
Gloomy
it seems. And yet at the same time something wonderfully, transforming.
And you really can't say that your faith will grow unless it is tested. I mean, it is when it's tested that it grows. And you can see this in your day-to-day work. Aid to the church in need around the world. The people who are facing dire needs. But their faith grows at those times, in spite of those challenges.
I mean, the faith is built on this, the seeds of the faith are built on the blood of the martyrs. And before I arrived here, I actually had to pick up Father Michael Shields, and he's been on EWTN, was interviewed by Father Groeschel. And Father Michael Shields is an American priest from Alaska who we support. And he has a mission in Siberia, in Magadan. And the first thing he did was he found all of the people who were sent to Siberia because of their faith. And he interviewed them.
Oh, my.
And he has these incredible stories of these people. And last year, when we were at Eucharistic Congress, he told me that before he left, a woman that he was counseling told him that she saw in the archives the numbers of people who were martyred, were killed. And it was in the hundreds of thousands.
Goodness.
And she was heartbroken from it.
Oh, my goodness.
And he said when he was going back, this was last June, he was going to start saying Mass on the fields, on the mountains of hills of bodies that were martyred.
Sacred ground because there's human remains.
But the thing is, he also has a ministry to post-abortive women. And he started this many years ago, and he said what he did was he had a prayer vigil. And at the prayer vigil, he invited these women who he had been counseling to come up and pray and light one candle for each of the children that were aborted. 5 women, 46 candles.
Oh, my goodness.
And not one of them was over 35 years old. So it wasn't even like they theoretically were finished their reproductive years.
Sure. 5 women,
and
46 candles.
He counsels women who have had more than 10 abortions.
Oh, my goodness.
And yet now he has this center where he's helping them to keep their children. And a lot of them are being named Misha, Michael, after him. And he sends pictures of it. And see, for me, the difficult days are rejuvenated and energized by these stories. By the opportunity to be with with Father Max or Father Michael or any of these other priests. The priest that was said Mass today who spent 9 years in Sudan, a Brazilian priest, and telling the stories of the killings and the fighting, and all the while the church growing. One man starting a prayer group, and after his 15 or 20 years of work, 700 prayer groups from his one.
Oh, wow.
And he was illiterate.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, the Holy Spirit. Well, certainly, I'd like to thank both of you for joining us. Before we conclude this segment, I'd like to ask you, Edward, for people listening around the world, if they want to know more about Aid to the Church in Need and become part of that great, wonderful effort and be part of that outreach of the Catholic Church, what website should they visit?
It's www.aidtothe www.churchinneed.org. Churchinneed.org. Spell it out.
Wonderful. Very good. Thank you very much, Edward Clancy with Aid to the Church in Need. Thank you very much, Father Max Medina with the Missionaries of the Poor, taking part of World Youth Day here live from Rio de Janeiro. Thank you very much to the whole group, Roselle and Malcolm from Brazil, seminarian, also for coming down in this weather. It's been pouring out there, and we truly value your time here with us. God bless you. And
God bless you.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Pray for our soon-to-be wedding.
Yes, very good. We will be
absolutely.
with you in our prayers,
Thank you.
Edward and Roselle.
Edward, if you would also please give our very best to Mark Riedemann. I know he works very hard putting the radio show together. And also, Father Max, if you would please give our best to Father Richard Ho Lung.
I'll be calling him tomorrow, in fact, and let him know.
You please tell him that Tom says hello, and that everyone here at EWTN sends all their blessings to you and your marvelous ministry.
Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, and God bless you.
And Father Max, will you please help us close this segment? Where our show is not done yet, but may we have your blessing, please?
May the Lord bless us. May He protect us. May He strengthen us. May He continue to guide our lives and our ministries, both in the media as well as reaching out to the least of our brothers and sisters, and that the Spirit of Christ will continue to reign in our hearts. May the Lord bless you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everybody. And when we come back from our quick break here, we'll have a few final thoughts here of what's going on at World Youth Day 2013 with Elena Rodriguez live in Rio, right here on EWTN. Don't go away.
I'm Brian Patrick in the morning on the Sunrise Morning Show here on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. We'll talk about why the Catholic crucifix features Jesus on the cross with Dan Egan on Bible Tidbits. On Bible Foods, how people lived during Bible times in rural areas and in the city, and how they grew and prepared their food with Rita Heichenfeld.
The Sunrise Morning Show. Can't wait to start your day.
I have a new love and respect for the Catholic Church, and those of you who waver in your faith, don't you dare. You stick to your guns, because that's the one thing you can hold on to. When everything else disappears around you, you say your rosary, you do what you guys do, but hang on to your faith, and don't you dare fall off the path.
Stay on God's path and listen daily to EWTN Radio.
Prayer that I recommend to you is the Holy Rosary. I am carrying an assault weapon and a 50-round clip.
This is Oblate Father Andrew Small, National Director of the Pontifical Mission Societies in the United States. A ramshackle new classroom in an Indian village, a lick of paint for the seminary in Kenya, and some second-hand medical supplies for the village clinic in Thailand. A missionary vocation brings us all to the delivery room of the church, where cries mix with tears and genuine novelty is born. When good news is scarce, we can forget the great works being done half a world away, day in and day out. But it is always the right time to remember. It's a lesson from the missions.
Brought to you by the Pontifical Mission Societies. To learn more about becoming a missionary right where you are, visit our website at onefamilyinmission.org. Remember, if you're baptized, you're a missionary. Through prayer and sacrifice, in word and witness, we're all part of this one family in mission.
Let's return to EWTN Radio's exclusive World Youth Day coverage, live from Rio.
All right, welcome back. It's a quarter till the top of the hour. We'll be with you for another, about 10 minutes or so here on EWTN's Countdown to World Youth Day program. Before we go back to Elena, I want to put in just a quick plug for our wonderful website that our hardworking online team has assembled, and you can get there by going to EWTN.com/WYD. And you'll see radio schedules, television schedules, all sorts of wonderful information about World Youth Day, including the what I think is a very groovy thing, and that is the World Youth Day 360. Elena, have you seen the World Youth Day 360 yet?
I have had a chance to see some of the footage of inside the cathedral here at Rio.
Yeah?
And it's just amazing because you could look down at the floor. You can look at the ceiling. It's in the form of like a tent of a cone, so you can see the window up at the top, and then you can just scroll around. And in my case, I watched on a laptop, so I was using my cursor, my pointer. But if you're looking on an iPod or something like that, you can use your finger to just scroll around the screen and just turn around as if you were really there. And if you need to zoom in, like, oh, I think I see somebody from back home. Who is that? And you can zoom into the crowd, and you can check out to see if your next door neighbor happens to be at Rio and didn't tell you about it.
Very cool. So, and really, our words do not do justice to what 360 is. I'm thinking
It's amazing.
Yeah,
you have to see it to believe it.
exactly. So do check that out. EWTN.com/WYD and look for the word 360, and just click on that, and off you go. Right?
That is correct. It's very easy to access, and you just can't miss it. You have to check it out because this is a way that we're bringing the World Youth Day to you like no other time before. This is brand new. It's just, you don't, as you said, Tom, I've heard you saying this, you don't need a passport to go to Rio anymore.
Well, there you go.
Just 360, EWTN 360.
There you go.
And speaking of, yep, go ahead.
No, I was going to pitch it to you because I know that you've got another interview or two lined up there.
Yes, and well, speaking of pilgrims who are here in Rio and who are very joyful to be here, and I ran into a group of high school students from Long Island last night at the beach in Copacabana, and they were very, very enthusiastic as they were getting ready to participate in the Mass, and they were there really early. They had a good viewing point, and I had a lovely, wonderful conversation with several members of the group. Of course, there are 120 in total, so
Wow.
Tom, I didn't get to interview all of them.
Well, you do the best you can. I understand.
But I was able to speak to one of the leaders and many of the students, and this is the conversation that we had. And we are here on Copacabana Beach, just awaiting the official start of World Youth Day. And you are with a group of how many?
We're 120. My name is Brother Kenneth Hoagland.
Brother Kenneth, good to meet you. And where are you from?
We're all from Long Island, 2 high schools, Chaminade High School and Kellenberg Memorial High School, 2 Marianist high schools on Long Island.
Wonderful. What is your name?
Ryan Hennessy.
Ryan, is this your first World Youth Day?
It is, yes.
I see you have an Argentinian flag over your head.
Yeah, I do, yes.
How did you get that?
I gave the man a flag, and he gave it to me, so.
So you've been exchanging flags with friends you meet up with?
Everyone, yes.
That is great. What a great idea. What's your name?
Brian Johnson.
And Brian, you still have your U.S. flag around your shoulder. Are you going to give that up?
No way, I love America. I'm not getting rid of this.
Very good. What is your name?
Thomas Yandoli.
Oh, Thomas, you have a Brazilian flag. What did you have to give up for that?
I gave up a little American flag, and I was lucky to I got the better end of that trade, but it was still a good trade.
Fair enough, huh?
Yep.
What are you expecting from this Mass today?
I'm expecting to be like among everyone else in the crowd celebrating Mass, a huge experience. You're not usually with this many people celebrating the Eucharist.
Have you ever seen so much people gathered in one single place?
No, and I haven't seen this many flags either.
That's a great encounter of all cultures and nations. What is your name?
Caitlin Gallagher.
And you have a U.S. flag over your head and on your hat. Now, is this your first World Youth Day?
Yes, it is.
And are any of your siblings here with you? Any family members?
No, just my school and Chaminade.
Have you been communicating with them back at home, the folks?
I called my parents once. They were happy to hear I was safe. You know, that they're so proud of me. Everyone at home is so proud. My parish, everyone. They actually gave me a little Christmas ornament to leave at Christ the Redeemer.
That is wonderful. So you're going to take great memories back home.
Oh, definitely, yes.
All right, who's next? Oh, what is your name? Hi.
Kayla Fernando.
And what expectations do you have of today's Mass here on Copacabana Beach?
Just being with other people who have the same faith, definitely from a faith perspective, and just seeing people from around the world. Like, I'm Filipino. I actually just took a group picture with other Filipino pilgrims. They're up there, but yeah. So
how many languages do you speak?
I don't speak Filipino fluently, but I'm able to communicate a little bit with them. Yeah.
That's wonderful, isn't it?
Thanks. Yes, it is.
Now, has the rain kind of, you think, dampened, or so far everybody's just sticking together even in spite of the rain?
Our motto is "It never rains" on the junior class. So.
That's great. What is your name?
Eleanor Joang.
And this is your first World Youth Day.
Yeah.
What are you expecting to take home once it is all over?
Just good memories, a lot of pictures, and like a new perspective on life and faith, I guess.
Have you been participating in any catechetical programs before coming to Rio?
I help a lot around in my church, but that's about it.
We went to Christ the Redeemer.
Oh, we went to Sugarloaf and Christ Redeemer was fun.
So you've gotten a little bit of that taste of being in Rio already.
Yeah.
USA! USA! USA!
There we go.
How about something for the Pope?
Wow.
You're multilingual. Congratulations, and have a wonderful stay at World Youth Day. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Awesome.
It was just an international feast, and it was just such a joy. You can see it in their faces. They just come alive with the flags and with each other and exchanging gifts and taking pictures and then making new friendships. But they all tell you that the catechism sessions and all the spiritual preparation is very important for them.
Oh, sure.
So there's a lot of solid content to World Youth Day, aside, of course, the friendship and the youth and the festival and the encounter of cultures and flags and color.
Now, I know that the catechetical talks, instruction, that starts today. Will it continue tomorrow into Friday?
That is correct. It officially started today. It's a little less than 300. I believe the number exactly is 274 different locations for catechesis.
Really?
And they started today, yes, and they will continue Thursday and Friday. And, of course, all of that will kind of build up to the main World Youth Day activity for Friday, which is going to be the Via Crucis, the Way of the Cross along Copacabana Beach, along the stations, and then all the youth who have been participating in these different 274 locations will come together as a huge crowd and push together.
And they will be well armed at that point, ready for Stations of the Cross, Via Crucis, because that's, as we have said earlier, this is when there is a definite mood change and people realize the underlying solemnity of this event. It's not just, everybody's having a great time, but it's not just about that, is it?
It is very profound, and there will be long-lasting effects. It's not just a spiritual high that will last 3 more days and will conclude gloriously on Sunday with the closing Mass and the Holy Father. That is great for the time being, but these young people are taking back lessons for life that will last them a lifetime, no doubt about it.
Well, very good. Elena Rodriguez, thank you so much. This has been just a glorious day here to have the Holy Father on with the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass today. So thank you for all that you do. And don't forget, tomorrow we're back on the air at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Elena, you'll be ready, right? You're not going to oversleep on me, right?
Okay.
Okay, glad to hear that.
You know too much, Tom.
Well, tomorrow it's going to be something really unusual as the Holy Father visits the slums of Varginha. So we'll be bringing you all that tomorrow right here.